I hate to sound like a broken record, but this is absolutely important. When it comes to music, and for the sake of this channel, rock music, it's just amazing how swiftly a song can take us back to any moment in time. Now, I have many songs I can pull out of a bag, and they will take me back to many moments. And they're not all rock songs, but there's one song in particular that we are going to talk about today that I can say I'm not a huge fan of the band that created the song, but the song gives me fond memories and takes me back in so many ways. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back, music lovers, especially my rock music lovers. So let's start off like this. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do that right now. Hit that subscribe button. That'll absolutely help me in this channel grow. YouTube will put me out there to a more vast audience, and I know there's so many more people out there like me that want to hear amazing stories from rock music, because there is no other music like rock. Even though it may not be at the top right now, it'll always make its way back up there. That's been my perspective. It'll still be my stance till it happens. But today we're going to talk about a band. This is a British band that started in London in 1988, and the band is called Blur. Many of you probably know the band, and you're definitely going to know the song that we're going to talk about today. The song that we're going to be talking about is from their fifth studio album. It was a self-titled album that released in 1997. And the song we're going to be talking about is Song 2. So we're going to touch base on a few things today in this video. One being the backstory of the song. The backstory of the song is pretty cool, if you don't mind me saying, and I'll let you make your own opinion on it once we go through it. But I heard it a few times and I had to dive deeper into it to actually get more perspective on it. But again, anything that you research online, you got to take it with a grain of salt, because unless, and I've said it before, because I've got so many comments from people that saying I'm wrong and that I said something, out of context. And to me, it's just a bunch of nonsense, because unless, and I could be wrong, unless the person making the comment actually knows the person in question or the band in question, or knows firsthand about the song or album in question, they're just like me. You cannot tell me I'm wrong if you don't know firsthand. And I don't know if I'm always right, because really, research can only take you so far. You never know if what you're reading is 100% accurate. But I've heard this story a million times, so I believe there's some validity to it, but we'll go through it. Either way, it's still an interesting story. And the second thing that we're going to touch base on is I'm going to give you a little more insight into me. I'm going to tell you a story about this song that really hits home for me. And it's a pretty cool story about my childhood growing up. So you'll get to know me a little bit better too. So let's dive into it right now. So like I said, the band Blur formed in 1988. They formed in London, England, and up to the point of this song, they had already released 5 albums. And each one of these albums by the band Blur, you really go back and listen to them, they definitely, like a lot of bands, changed up their style as each album progressed. And not to saying that's a bad thing, but, sometimes when you get to 4 or 5 albums and you're still playing around, you kind of tells people, and you should tell yourself, that you really haven't found your calling, your niche, the sound that fits you. But at the same time, there's some amazing bands out there that have changed their sound over time, that every time they did it, it was badass. In fact, one of my favorite bands from my teenage years, the band AFI, started out as a pretty much hardcore skate punk band. And as they got to their 3rd and 4th album, they started to sound more, instead of, a lot of punk bands are screaming and really fast pace, they started to sing a little more and put a little more unique guitar sound in it, and the bass and the drums, and it started to get a little more, it was a lot different. And then as they progressed to their 5th and 6th album, it was completely different. But each one of AFI's albums I absolutely love, and every time their sound changed, I fell in love with the new sound. So that's kind of what I got out of Blur. As they went through their first 4 albums, they changed things up quite a bit. But when they got to that 5th album, the self-titled album, which has the song in question, Song 2, they kind of hit a nail on the head with, okay, this is a sound, we're going to kind of go back to what we sounded like in our first couple albums, and we're going to change things up a little bit, and, we're going to see how it works. I don't know if it's any band's goal to have, create that anthem, that song that's going to live on forever in sports arenas and movies. I don't know if that's ever a goal, but there's some bands that have done that. Queen with We Will Rock You. That song is played everywhere today. It's played all over. You're playing it at stadiums, at football games, soccer games, hockey games, basketball games. It's played in movies still. It's absolutely an amazing song. The White Stripes, Seven Nation Army. I do not think they had any idea how big that song was going to end up being. 'Cause just like We Will Rock You, it's played at a lot of events. And there's other songs that we could put in that category. But I don't think that Blur had any idea Song 2 was going to be that big, especially because when it was initially written, it was somewhat to be a parody and a play on the grunge movement that was going on in the early to mid 90s in the United States. Because, I don't heard a lot, and I don't know about you. We know how big that explosion was, and in our perception of what we were told is it was huge all over the world. Now, I have never really heard a lot of bands from the UK or coming out of any other country. There's rock bands that come out of Japan. There's rock bands that come out of Germany. I've never really heard their perspective on what they thought of the grunge movement. But this band, Blur, definitely wanted to play with it a little, and that was the intent behind the writing of Song 2. Now, guys from the band have come out and said that that was the thought process behind writing that song. It was absolutely to just parody that movement entirely. Now, they've never really said if it was a certain song they were trying to parody or if it was just the entire movement. And I don't know if it really is any truth to it at all, but the guys have said that, and they could just be blowing smoke up our ass. But then there's people that are close to them and close to the band in their camp that have come out and said that more than likely that song was meant to parody Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit, and that really don't make sense to me either. But they try to explain it with it has, just like Smells Like Teen Spirit, has some mellow verses and then some really heavy and loud parts. Well, yes, but you can say that about a lot of rock songs. But we know that when they created that song, because initially they didn't even want to release it on any of their albums, but eventually their record label said, okay, we do want to put it on this album, which ended up being their 5th album. And after that, well, I don't think they had any idea how big it was going to blow up. So when Song 2 was released, it was perceived very well right away, especially in the UK, and it didn't take long to make its way over to the States. And just like the guys, well, whoever said it that was close to them about possibly being a parody on Smells Like Teen Spirit, they explained it pretty well because the verses are very mellow, and it definitely gets loud and heavy as you get to the chorus. And not only that, the chorus pretty much starts right out the gate. That's how the song starts, so it's in your face right away. Very good for sporting events, very good for a action style movie. And a matter of fact, the first time I heard it, it was played on a 1997 trailer for a movie. The movie, well, it was this movie right here. So if you don't know what that movie is, that is the movie Starship Troopers, which has had a couple sequels by now, but that was the original one. It was released in 1997, and the reason that it's in this video, one, Song 2 by Blur was in the trailer. It was played in every trailer they did, which they did multiple to promote that movie before it actually came out. When that movie was being filmed throughout 1996, early 1997, before it actually got released, they filmed a good portion of that up in Wyoming. Now, at that time, I was living with my grandmother on my dad's side of the family in Wyoming, pretty much out in the middle of nowhere. It was a little piece of land, and it's still on Google Maps. Anywhere you look, if you type in Hell's Half Acre, that plot of land is still called that. She used to have a little restaurant there before I was ever born. My great-grandma opened it. Little restaurant, a little hotel for truckers or anybody passing through. They could stop and rent a room, and the house that we lived in was attached to the hotel at the end. Those are some of my fondest memories. It was cool because you're in the middle of nowhere, and my playground was just miles of canyons. That was my playground. I'd go climb down in these canyons every day. I'd go explore. I'd find caves. I found arrowheads all the time. I found a fossil one time. It was absolutely insane. I loved living out there. But in 1996, a bunch of people started showing up from Hollywood because they had paid my grandmother to film a big portion of this movie there. So a lot of the scenes where they're meant to be on other planets and the guys are shooting at all these bugs, this big old base that they were on, all that was built down there where I would play every single day. And matter of fact, when they were down there filming, they let me come down there every day. They were shooting the scenes. They'd give me a bag of Doritos, give me a Coke, and let me sit behind the camera while they were filming these scenes. And that was the first time that I ever seen something like that. And it gave me a little perspective too, because they're saying action, and these guys are shooting these guns full of blanks, not saying anything, and they're shooting at absolutely nothing. So when I finally saw the movie, and I was like, that's the scene that I watched him shoot. And there's all these giant bugs coming at him, flying, and everybody's screaming and yelling. And I'm like, what? That was nothing like what I actually sat there and witnessed when they were filming in real time. But that was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. It made me want to be an actor. It made me want to be in show business. It made me want to do something in the entertainment variety. And that was way before YouTube. I think YouTube was my calling because, sometimes you're not going to make it out to Hollywood and become a big actor all the time. You're not going to be a famous musician all the time. But being able to see that and witness that and watch them make that movie down there, and then when I saw the trailer for the first time and Song 2 by Blur was on it, it's engraved in my head to this day. Like I said, Song 2 by Blur was loved right out of the gate. I mean, you got it being on a trailer for a big Hollywood movie that was about to be released. And then you had them at the 1997 MTV Video Music Awards. They were up for awards for Best Group Video and Best Alternative Video. I mean, from that moment on until today, that song is still used in TV, in film, video games, and at sporting events. I mean, the song it's a legacy song. It's something they can always hang their hat on. I don't know if it's something they're sick of hearing or even playing if they're doing live shows, but it's definitely loved by millions. And for somebody like me, it gives me some of the best memories because that song is so connected to Starship Troopers for me. And Starship Troopers and that song take me back to that moment, that kid living in Hell's Half Acre, Wyoming. Because now, and I haven't been there since, that restaurant, that hotel, all that stuff that was there when I lived there with my grandma, it was taken away by the state, tax reasons. They tore everything down. I have not been back since. So now there's nothing but flat land there, and all those canyons are still there. So just thinking about going back there, and I've told my wife I want to go back there one day just to go back there. Just thinking about it gives me butterflies. I know if I step foot on that land, it would just give me this amazing feeling, take me back to that kid. I would love that, to go down those canyons where they shot the movie, all those locations, and go find some of those caves I used to go into when I was a kid, see if are things still the same, have things changed. But just thinking about that, man, it gives me an awesome feeling. And that's what music should be. Something that makes you feel something special, whether it's something in your personal life or just an emotion you get when you just hear the song. It hypes you up. It makes you think when you're sad. It makes you think when you're in a tough spot in life, and you know that song is going to help you, or at least you think it is. And for me, Song 2 by Blur will always be linked to me in that way. Not just the fact that it's a great rock song for rock history. It's a song personally that is tied to me for life. And that's honestly why I had to do this video, and that's why I love that song, because that reason right there, the personal sentiment it has for me. So anyway, I want to appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys for coming and watching. Sorry, I was starting to get a little gushy inside, trying not to show any emotion. But thank you for coming and watching. Absolutely, go out there, take care of your friends and family. Do something amazing. Create something legacy-defying for you, whatever it is in your life. You can do something amazing. It's just a lot of us don't feel like getting off our ass and doing it. But if you want to, you can. So again, go take care of yourself. Till next time, I'm out.